My son walked in like a man who'd bought a bus ticket to leave responsibility behind and dumped his entire life on my doorstep. "We're moving in," he announced, smiling as if he'd offered me cake. No warning, no apology. His wife with her clipped smile, their 2 noisy kids, and his mother-in-law who treated me like background scenery. They marched into the quiet house I'd made after my husband died and turned it into someone else's party. I let them stay once out of love. Their stay became a takeover. This is the true story of how kindness turned into invasion, how I learned to fight with legal papers instead of shouting, and how I reclaimed my house, my memories, and my dignity, piece by piece. If you've ever been used for your generosity, wait until you hear how calm revenge, strong boundaries, and a cold eviction notice can sound like the sweetest victory. When you live alone long enough, your house starts talking to you. Every floorboard remembers footsteps that don't walk anymore. Every corner carries a memory you can almost touch. That was my peace, my small, quiet world in Dallas. After my husband Raymond passed, I filled the silence with his old gospel records, morning coffee, and the soft hum of my garden. I had learned to live with the loneliness. Until my son, Marcus, knocked on the door that Sunday evening. He didn't come alone. Behind him stood his wife, Emily, a woman with a perfect smile and cold eyes that never warmed to me. Next to her was her mother, Donna, holding a tiny suitcase and looking around my home like she was already the owner. And then came my 2 grandbabies, little Ethan and Lily, dragging their toy cars and dolls across my porch. "Mom," Marcus said, as if this was a normal visit. "We've decided something." Those words, "we've decided," hit me harder than thunder. I looked at him, confused. "Decided what, baby?" Emily answered instead. "We're moving in for a while, just until we get back on our feet. The rent went up and, well, it's crowded, but we've decided." I blinked. "We've decided. No question, no request. Just a statement, like I was a landlord being notified, not a mother being asked." "Come on, y'all," Marcus said cheerfully. "It'll be good. Family under one roof again." But the tone, the timing, it all felt wrong. The air around Emily and her mama was thick with entitlement, not gratitude. Donna brushed past me with a smirk. "Hope you don't mind if I take the guest room. My back can't handle small beds. Mind?" I minded everything, but I said nothing. Because I was raised to be kind, to open doors, to help family when they fall. That night, my quiet house turned into a hurricane. Boxes everywhere, children running through my late husband's study, Emily telling me how she'd freshen up my kitchen, and Donna, that woman, complaining about how dark the curtains make the house feel. By midnight, I sat alone in my bedroom, staring at the ceiling fans spin in slow circles. Raymond's photo sat on my nightstand. I whispered to him, "Baby, you wouldn't believe what just walked through our door." The next morning, my house didn't smell like coffee and flowers anymore. It smelled like bacon grease and cheap perfume. I walked into the kitchen and found Donna standing in her robe, flipping pancakes like she owned the stove. "Mornin'," she said. "You might want to pick up more eggs next time you shop." I froze. "Next time I shop?" Emily appeared behind her. "Yeah, Mama Loretta. We go through groceries fast with the kids." "Hope that's okay." Okay. Everything was supposed to be okay. Except it wasn't. Marcus came in late that evening, whistling like nothing was wrong. "Ma, isn't this nice?" "Feels like old times," I smiled weakly. Old times were quieter. He laughed, hugged me, and went to the living room, where his kids were already climbing over my couch. Donna was rearranging my photo frames. Emily was opening my refrigerator. And me? I was sitting at the kitchen table, holding on to my tea, trying not to cry. The first week, I tried to tell myself it was temporary. The second week, I tried to tell myself they'd learn respect. By the third week, I knew I'd lost control of my own. Home, my son's voice, started sounding less like my child and more like a stranger's. He began siding with Emily and her mother on everything, from what I could. Cook to what music I could play. One evening, when I was listening to an old gospel song, Donna shouted from the living room, "Can you turn that funeral music down?" Something inside me broke a little that night. I turned it off and went to my garden. I sat there under the stars, trying to breathe. My peace had been replaced by noise, my love replaced by their selfishness. and then came the moment I'll never forget. It was Sunday morning, the one day I used to dress up, visit church, and light a candle for Raymond's memory. But when I came downstairs in my church hat, Donna laughed. "Oh, honey, you still doing all that old church stuff?" Emily giggled beside her. "We were thinking of hosting a brunch today. It's Sunday. People relax, not pray." That's when Marcus looked up from his phone and said, "Yeah, Ma, we're having some friends over later." "I hope that's cool. Friends, brunch in my home." On my husband's Memorial Sunday, I stood frozen. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw them all out, but I swallowed it, like every other hurt they'd given me, because sometimes silence is the seed of something stronger than revenge. It's the start of a plan, and I was done being the quiet one. What would you do if your own son moved his entire family and his mother-in-law into your home without asking? Would you stay quiet or fight back? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. They say when you let people walk over you once, they'll start to build a road. By the second month, that road ran right through my heart and out my front door. Every step I took in my own house felt like I needed permission. Every word I spoke was met with a sigh or a smirk. Emily and Donna had turned my home into their personal kingdom, and I was the unpaid maid. It started small. First, it was the groceries. Then the TV remote. Then my bedroom door, which Donna liked to check on when I wasn't home. She said she was just looking for towels, but I knew better. That woman had curiosity the size of Texas and respect the size of a dust speck. One afternoon, I came home from church early and caught her red-handed. There she was, standing in my late husband's study, opening drawers, flipping through photo albums like they were her property. I froze in the doorway. "What are you doing in here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. She didn't even flinch. "Oh, relax, Loretta. I was just looking for printer paper." I stepped closer. "That's my husband's desk and his memory." "You stay out of this room." Donna gave me a fake smile. "You really should move on. Holding on to dead people's things ain't healthy." Something in me snapped. My palms trembled. I wanted to yell, but I didn't. I just looked at her, my lips shaking, and said softly, "You don't get to tell me how to love the man who built this home." She laughed, and walked right past me. That laugh stuck in my ears the rest of the day. That evening, I tried talking to Marcus. I thought maybe my son, my own flesh and blood, and would stand by me. "Marcus," I said, "your wife's mother has been disrespecting me in my own house." He sighed. "Ma, please don't start again. Donna's just trying to help." "Help?" I raised my voice. "By going through your father's things?" Emily jumped in, arms crossed. "We all live here now, Loretta. You can't expect us to tiptoe around your stuff forever." "My stuff." "My stuff?" That was my life, my memories, my peace. I looked at my son, the boy I raised, the man I sacrificed for, and I saw nothing but coldness. He turned away, muttering, "You always make things difficult." That night, I sat on my porch swing until the sun came up. The cicadas were singing, the air was heavy, and my eyes burned with tears that refused to fall. But life wasn't done teaching me humility yet. 1 week later, I came home from a grocery run to find a moving truck outside. For a moment, my heart jumped. Maybe they were leaving. But no, they were bringing more stuff. Emily had called it a few new things for the kids. Turned out to be new furniture, all white, glossy, modern, completely out of place in my warm, wooden home. They'd moved my living room set into the garage without even asking. My brown leather couch, gone. My husband's old recliner, gone. Our framed wedding photo, tucked into a box marked storage. I stood there, speechless, as Donna directed the movers like she owned the house. "Put that shelf right there," she said. "The light hits better," I whispered. "That's where my husband's chair used to be." She didn't even look at me. "Well, sweetie," she said, "it's time for new memories." That was the day something in me changed. The hurt stopped feeling like tears and started feeling like fire. That night, while they slept, I walked through every corner of the house with my heart pounding. I could still smell Raymond's cologne faintly from the study. I touched the wooden frame of the window we'd painted together years ago. and I promised him under my breath, I'm going to take this house back, baby. For us. But before revenge came, there was one more insult, one that would burn itself into my memory. It was the anniversary of Raymond's death. I had planned a quiet day, some flowers, some candles, a little prayer. Instead, I woke up to music, loud music, laughter, Emily's voice shouting, "Donna, the guests will be here in 30 minutes." Guests? What guests? I walked into the living room and froze. There were balloons, a table full of food, champagne bottles, and Donna, dressed like she was throwing a wedding. "Oh, hey, Loretta," she chirped. "We're having a brunch for my coworkers. Hope you don't mind." "You'll love it. Bring some life to this old house." My eyes filled with tears. "Do you even know what day this is?" Emily rolled her eyes. "It's Sunday, Loretta. Chill," I whispered. "It's my husband's death anniversary." The music stopped for a moment, just a moment. Then Donna shrugged and said, "Well, he's gone." "We're still here." That's when I walked out. Straight out. No yelling, no crying. Just silence. Because the woman they thought was weak was done being quiet. I went to Pastor Raymond's old friend, a lawyer now, and told him everything. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Loretta, they've overstepped. But you have rights. Let's get your house back." And right then, the plan for revenge began. If your own child allowed strangers to disrespect you like this in your home, what would you do? Would you stay silent or start fighting back like Loretta? The hardest part about revenge isn't anger, it's patience. That Monday morning, I woke up before everyone else. The house was still and quiet for the first time in weeks. The kids were asleep. Emily and Donna were snoring in my guest rooms like queens of chaos. Marcus had left early for work, probably thinking his mother was too old, too soft, too harmless to do anything. They were wrong. I brewed my coffee and sat by the kitchen window, the same spot where I used to talk to Raymond every morning. His photo sat beside my mug, and I whispered to him, "Baby, I'm about to take back what's ours. I'll do it with grace, but I'll do it right." That same afternoon, I went to see Mr. Thompson, an old friend of Pastor Raymond, now a lawyer. He'd seen me at church years ago and had always said, "Loretta, you're too kind for this world. Don't let people steal your peace." He welcomed me into his office with a smile. "What brings you here, Ms. Johnson?" "My son," I said softly, "and the people he brought with him." I told him everything, from the uninvited move-in to the disrespect, the destroyed furniture, even the anniversary brunch. He sat back, eyes wide. "They're not tenants," he said finally. "They're guests, and guests have no legal right to stay once the owner withdraws permission." I leaned forward. "So I can make them leave?" He nodded. "Yes, but do it smart. Give written notice, signed and dated. Be calm, polite, and firm. No yelling. That's what they want, drama. You'll give them paperwork." That smile, the kind of quiet, righteous smile, was the first one I'd worn in months. That night, I wrote the letter. I took my time, typed every word carefully. This home was built by Raymond and me, with love and sacrifice. You were welcomed here out of kindness, not obligation. As of 30 days from this notice, you are no longer permitted to reside in this house. I signed it, Loretta Johnson, legal owner. Then I printed 3 copies, one for Emily, one for Donna, one for my son. And I waited. For the next few days, I watched them more carefully. Every noise, every whisper, every disrespectful glance, I stored it all. Because revenge isn't about hurting people. It's about showing them who they underestimated. Donna still strutted around like she paid the bills. Emily still treated me like an inconvenience. And Marcus still pretended everything was normal. But I wasn't the same woman anymore. One evening, they were all in the living room watching TV. Donna was stretched out on my couch, eating chips straight from the bag, crumbs falling on my rug. Emily was scrolling through her phone, and Marcus was half listening to a football game. That's when I walked in, calm as ever, holding the envelopes. "Marcus," I said softly. He turned around. "Yeah, Ma?" I handed him the letters. He frowned. "What's this?" "Read it," I said. Emily grabbed hers, scanning quickly. Her eyes widened. "Are you serious?" Donna laughed. "Oh, this is cute. You think you can just—" "Yes," I interrupted. I can, and I will. Marcus stood up, his face tightening. Ma, what is this about? It's about respect, I said. It's about how I raised a son to be a man, not a tenant. You walked into this house without asking. You let strangers disrespect me. You turned my memories into your mess. So now you have 30 days to find somewhere else. Emily's face turned red. You can't just throw your family out? I looked her dead in the eye. You're right. I can't throw out family, but I can remove people who forgot what that word means. The silence after that was heavy, thick like storm air before thunder. Marcus tried to speak, but I held up my hand. No more talking tonight. You'll leave when you're ready, but not one day after that date. Then I turned, walked to my room, and locked the door. I expected screaming, arguing, maybe even guilt trips. But the next few days were strangely calm, too calm. Donna and Emily barely spoke to me. Marcus avoided me completely. The kids sensed the tension. Even they got quieter. But deep inside, I knew that calm was fake. It was the kind of silence people create before they strike back. Sure enough, their revenge started small. They stopped cleaning up. They left the lights on all night. They accidentally let my dog out one afternoon. Thank God my neighbor found him before dark. And when I told Emily to please turn the TV down, she smirked and said, "Your house feels like a prison anyway." I looked her straight in the eyes and replied, "Then start packing, baby. Freedom's waiting for you." But the real war began the night before the eviction date. I came home from church to find my front door wide open. Inside, chaos. Broken plates, spilled juice, furniture out of place. And in the center of it all, Donna standing there holding a trash bag. "We're not leaving quietly," she hissed. "You embarrassed my daughter and my grandkids. You'll regret this." I took one step forward. "No, Donna, you'll regret underestimating me." Then I picked up my phone and dialed Mr. Thompson. Within 2 hours, the police arrived. Not for violence, not for drama, but for proof. Because I had paperwork, all legal, all proper. The officers told them plainly, "Ma'am, you've been given notice. You're trespassing now. You need to leave tonight." Emily started crying. Marcus looked shocked. And Donna? She glared at me with pure hatred. I stood in the doorway, calm and steady, as they carried their boxes out one by one. When the door finally shut behind them, I felt the first real breath of peace I'd had in months. But little did I know. Emily wasn't done, and the next move she made would cut deeper than any insult. Would you have done the same if you were in Loretta's shoes? Would you have evicted your own son's family, or handled it differently? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for part 4, where Emily's revenge takes a shocking turn. Peace can be the loudest sound in the world, especially when it comes after months of chaos. For the first time in forever, my house in Dallas was quiet. No shouting, no stomping, no judgmental voices. I walked barefoot on my floors and could hear the hum of my refrigerator again. I lit a candle for my husband, whispered a prayer of gratitude, and finally slept without fear. But peace doesn't last long when bitter hearts feel embarrassed. A week after they left, I got my first text from Emily. "Hope you're happy. You tore a family apart." I didn't respond. Then came another message. "Marcus can't stop crying. The kids miss you. You should be ashamed. That one hurt." But still I stayed silent, because silence is power. And I had learned the hard way that when you argue with evil, it multiplies. But silence didn't stop Emily. Oh no, it only made her crueler. A few days later, I went grocery shopping. When I returned home, my mailbox was stuffed full of strange letters, all with my address, but not my name, credit card offers, catalogs, even a furniture bill I didn't recognize. At first, I thought it was spam. Then I saw one envelope that made my blood run cold. A past due notice from a store in Marcus's name, with my address listed as his billing address. I called the store immediately. The woman on the phone said, "Yes, ma'am, Mr. Marcus Johnson purchased furniture and listed this address as his residence." I realized then Emily had used my house address for their purchases. Trying to ruin my credit, tie me up in debt, and make me look like the one who owed money. It was petty. It was cruel, But I wasn't surprised. Revenge runs on pride, and pride always blinds the fool who holds it. The next day, I took all those letters to Mr. Thompson, my lawyer. He looked through them carefully, then smiled. "Loretta," he said, "you're smarter than they think. Keep every single document. We'll prove they used your address fraudulently. Once we do, you can file a restraining order if they keep this up." I nodded. "I just want my peace, Mr. Thompson." He leaned back and said, "Peace sometimes comes after justice." But things got darker. Late one evening, I heard car tires screeching outside my house. Headlights flashed through my window. I peered through the curtain and saw Emily's car parked across the street. She was sitting there, engine running, just staring at my house. At first, I thought she might just be emotional. But then, I saw her roll her window down and throw something onto my lawn. When I went out the next morning, I saw it clearly. Broken picture frames. My family photos, the ones that used to hang on my walls, she must have taken them before leaving. My heart ached, not for the frames, but for the boy I raised. The man who'd once said, "I'll always protect you, Mama." Now, his silence hurt more than Emily's cruelty. That night, I sat by my husband's old study, staring at his photo. "Raymond," I whispered, "I'm trying to be strong. But how do you stay calm when your own child lets strangers destroy your peace?" I swear, in that quiet moment, I could almost hear his voice in my heart. "You stay strong, Loretta. You don't fight fire with fire. You let the truth burn on its own." And that's exactly what I did. The next morning, I called my pastor, my lawyer, and my neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, who had seen Emily's car the night before. Mr. Thompson helped me file a police report and submitted the photos of the vandalized property. 2 days later, I got a call. "Mrs. Johnson," the officer said, "we spoke to your daughter-in-law. She's been warned to stay away from your property. Any further contact will result in charges." And just like that, the storm broke. Emily tried to twist the story, of course. She called Marcus crying, saying I'd ruined their life and turned the police against them. But by then, the truth was too loud to ignore, because Marcus called me that same night, voice trembling, full of guilt. "Ma, I didn't know she did all that." I swear I didn't. I didn't say much, just listened. Then I said softly, "Marcus, I didn't raise you to let anyone walk over family, not even your wife. You chose her over your mother, and now you're paying for that choice." He cried, for a long time. And though my heart ached for him, I couldn't save him this time. He needed to learn what real loyalty meant. A few weeks passed. I started rebuilding. I painted the walls, bought new curtains, planted roses in my garden again. My home felt alive, free, mine. Then one Sunday morning, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, Marcus stood there alone. No Emily, no kids, no Donna, just him. He looked thinner, tired. His voice cracked when he said, "Ma, can I come in?" I hesitated. My heart screamed yes, but my mind whispered, "Be careful." He stepped inside slowly, eyes filled with regret. "I'm sorry for everything. I didn't see it before, but now I know. Emily used me, used you, used everyone. She filed for divorce last week." I sat down, silent. Then he knelt beside me, just like he did when he was a little boy with a scraped knee, and said, "I just want to come home, Ma, please." And in that moment, I realized revenge hadn't just freed me. It had taught him too, because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't what you do to others. It's what you refuse to let them do to you. And when you stand up for yourself, even those who betrayed you can finally see who you really are. Strong, calm, and unbreakable. If you were Loretta, would you forgive your son after all that pain? Or would you shut the door for good? Let me know your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe for Part 5, where Loretta faces the final test, when Emily tries one last cruel trick that changes everything. They say evil doesn't rest, it waits. After Marcus came back to apologize, I thought the storm had passed. We started to rebuild a little. He helped me fix the fence, painted the porch, even brought flowers to his daddy's grave. For the first time in months, I felt my heart soften. Maybe, just maybe, I could forgive the boy who'd lost his way, But peace has a short life when bitterness still breathes somewhere out there. It started with a phone call. Mrs. Johnson? This is the electric company. We received a cancellation request for your service. Cancellation? I asked. I didn't cancel anything. Yes, ma'am, the woman said. Someone called this morning claiming to be you. My stomach twisted. Only one person I knew would be bold enough to pull that trick. Emily. By nightfall, the lights went out. Pitch black. Silence. Marcus and I sat in the living room with flashlights. He was angry and embarrassed. I swear, Ma, I didn't know she'd do this. I said quietly, I believe you, but belief doesn't fix the damage. We fix this together, Marcus, he nodded. I'll handle it. The next morning, we turned the power back on and changed all the accounts to my legal name only. But that wasn't the last of it. 2 days later, a police officer knocked on my door. Mrs. Loretta Johnson? Yes, officer. You're being accused of harassment, he said, handing me a paper. Someone filed a complaint saying you threatened them by phone. I read the document. My hands trembled. The complainant's name was Emily Carter. That woman had gone too far. I looked the officer in the eyes and said, Sir, I haven't spoken to that woman since she left this house. I have witnesses, calls, and messages to prove it. He checked his notes, sighed, and said, That's what we figured, ma'am. Just needed your statement. Honestly, she sounded unstable. When he left, I sat down at my kitchen table and whispered to myself, Lord, thank you for showing her hand before she could play the rest of the game. But Emily still had one more trick, her last one. A week later, I opened my mailbox and froze. Inside was a yellow envelope with a photo inside, a photo of me, standing in my garden, taken from across the street. No note, no words. Just proof that she'd been watching me. My knees went weak. For a moment, fear crept back into my bones. Marcus found me holding that picture. What's that? He asked. I handed it to him silently. His face turned pale. She's stalking you. He grabbed his phone and started dialing. I'm calling the police. I stopped him. Wait. Ma, let me handle it, I said, because now it wasn't about anger. It was about closure. That evening, I sat at my old wooden desk and wrote one more letter, short, sharp, and final. Emily, you've taken enough peace from this house. You lied, you used my name, and you tried to scare me. I will not play this game anymore. Any contact, any message, any picture, go straight to the police. You once called me Mom. I pray you find healing, because revenge will only eat you alive. I printed the letter and gave it to my lawyer, Mr. Thompson, who delivered it legally through her attorney. That was the last time I ever heard from Emily Carter. Months passed. Marcus slowly pieced his life together. He found a new job, started counseling, and spent weekends with Ethan and Lily at my house. The children's laughter filled my home again, but this time it was gentle. It didn't hurt. One afternoon, while they played in the garden, Marcus came over to me and said, Ma, I finally get it. You weren't being cruel when you kicked us out. You were teaching us boundaries, I smiled. Sometimes love means saying no. It took me 68 years to learn that lesson. He hugged me tight. I won't forget again, and right there under the Dallas sunset, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, freedom without guilt. That night, I stood in the doorway of my quiet home, the same place this storm had started. I looked around at the restored photos, the soft light, the smell of fresh flowers, and I whispered to Raymond's picture, We made it, baby. They tried to take our peace, but we took it back. Because in the end, revenge didn't mean breaking them. It meant rebuilding me. If you were in Loretta's place, would you forgive Emily or keep that door locked forever? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for Part 6, the final chapter, where Loretta learns the true meaning of justice and closure. When you've lived through a storm that long, silence feels like a song. It's been 6 months since Emily's last stunt. 6 months of no shouting, no threats, no footsteps that didn't belong. The house finally breathed again, and so did I. Every morning I sit on the porch with my cup of coffee, watching the sun climb over the Dallas rooftops. The same porch that once heard arguments now hears only birds. The same garden that once saw broken pictures now holds fresh roses. And every time the wind brushes through those roses, I whisper, Thank you, Lord. Thank you for giving me back my home. Marcus comes by almost every weekend now. He brings Ethan and Lily, and they run around the yard, laughing like the sound of second chances. Grandma, little Lily said one morning, why do you always smile when we play? I chuckled. Because for a long time, baby, this house forgot how to smile. Ethan asked, did someone make it sad? I nodded. Yes, but we made it happy again. They didn't understand the whole story, and they didn't need to. Children shouldn't carry the weight of adult battles. Marcus overheard and gave me a small, grateful smile. Ma, he said, you're stronger than I ever knew. I smiled back. Sometimes strength isn't loud, Marcus. It's quiet. It's what you find when nobody claps for you. He nodded slowly, understanding more than words could explain. One Sunday afternoon, we went to church together, just like the old days. Pastor Harris spoke about forgiveness. He said, forgiveness isn't saying what they did was okay. It's saying you're done letting it hurt you. I sat there in that wooden pew, holding my son's hand, and felt tears roll down my cheeks. For months, I'd carried anger like armor, strong but heavy. Now, sitting there under that soft light, I realized it was time to take it off. So that night, I took a candle and walked into my husband's study. On the desk were all the legal papers, old photos and the letter I'd written to Emily. I lit the candle and said, Raymond, I've done everything I could. I fought for our home, I protected our peace, and now I forgive her. Then I took the letter and dropped it gently into the flame. It curled, turned to ash, and disappeared, just like the anger inside me. A week later, something unexpected happened. Emily sent a handwritten letter through the lawyer. Not nasty this time, no threats, just a few shaky lines. Mrs. Johnson, you were right. I was lost. I let pride destroy everything. I'm sorry. Tell Marcus I hope he finds peace too. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and put it inside my Bible. Because sometimes the best place for pain is between pages of grace. Life feels different now. My days are slow and sweet, baking pies, talking to neighbors, singing along to gospel songs. Every evening, I water the roses and watch the sunset bleed gold across the sky. The past still whispers, but it doesn't shout anymore, and I've learned something powerful. Revenge might give you victory, but forgiveness gives you freedom. Now, when people ask me, Loretta, how did you survive all that? I smile and say, by remembering who I am. I'm a woman who built this home on love. And love is stronger than hate. Because that's the real revenge, living in peace while they drown in their own regret. That night, I sat by the window, holding my husband's photo. The lights glowed softly. The kids' laughter echoed down the hallway, and I whispered, we did it, baby. We made it through. Outside, the wind carried the scent of roses through the house, the smell of a home reclaimed, of pain forgiven, of peace finally won. If you felt Loretta's journey in your heart, hit that like button and share this story with someone who needs strength today. Tell me in the comments, what does revenge mean to you? Payback or peace? And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional family drama stories like this one.